Hi, it's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Welcome to another edition of Q&A with the Coach. Today we have a question from our friend Ray West. Oh man, this is an old question from 5 months ago, because he's wishing me happy birthday. I went through my spam filter. YouTube automatically filters out a massive number of comments, which have nothing to do with spam. I found messages from family members who had sent me all of these messages on my YouTube videos, just wonderful messages from people that I love and care about. And YouTube sent them to the spam filter. Shame on you, YouTube. Do better. Anyway, they sent Ray West's message to the spam filter, and I fished it out from 5 months ago. So Ray, this one's for you. He says, "Hey Ramsey, happy birthday. Thank you for the belated birthday wishes, Ray West. Why do you think that boxing fans talk crap about great fighters, but MMA fans will admit when a fighter is good? For example, I see people talking trash about Lomachenko or Pacquiao all the time in boxing forums, but never people talking trash about top fighters in MMA. What do you think this is about? I grew up doing traditional martial arts and have just began training in boxing. The main thing I notice is the difference in the culture. I'd like to hear your feedback about this, and again, happy belated birthday, and God bless." All right. You too, Ray. You probably had a birthday since you sent this message 5 months ago. Who knows? There's a high possibility of that having happened. So either happy belated birthday to you or happy upcoming birthday. Anyway, so boxing fans versus MMA fans. Yeah, it's a different culture, isn't it? Some people are fans of both sport. I'm a fan of both sport. But when it comes to talking to larger groups of people, especially people online, with that online anonymity, people can get really, really vicious about this stuff. Stupidly vicious about this stuff. But yeah, generally speaking, in MMA, if there's a guy people don't like a classic heel, like Conor McGregor, a lot of people don't like Conor McGregor. But they'll still admit he's a good fighter, but I hate him. But he's a good fighter, but I hate him. I don't like his attitude. I don't like his persona. I hate that guy, but he's a good fighter. And that makes me mad. Okay, there are plenty of exceptions to that, but I see where you're coming from. I have observed a lot of that. And I've observed a lot of what you're saying in boxing circles. People will often say, "Oh yeah, that guy's a bum." And I'm like, that guy's an undefeated world champion. He's a bum. And I've heard that about pretty much everybody on a who's who list of boxing. Especially when they get in arguments about who's the greatest boxer of all time. It was Rocky Marciano. He was undefeated. Rocky Marciano was a bum. How dare you say that? My guy's the best boxer ever. No, your guy's a bum. Muhammad Ali was the greatest ever. No, he's a bum. And this goes on and on. Now, name any of the great boxers throughout the history of boxing, and some boxing historian or wannabe historian is going to tell you, that guy was a bum. All he fought was soup cans. Yeah. That's my old-timey boxing historian wannabe voice. All he fought was soup cans. I tell you. So why is that? Why is it that so many boxing fans feel this liberty to disparage the greats of their sport? I mean, Lomachenko. Does that guy have any chinks in his armor? Does he have any flaws in his game? I mean, probably just not very many. He's as close as you can get to a perfectly well-oiled machine in boxing as they come. And yet there will still be people who don't know a thing about boxing who will say, he's a bum. And they're not saying, if I was in there, I would do better. It's just like, this guy sucks, is what they're saying. The armchair experts. I made a video recently about the topic of how every man thinks he knows how to fight, even if he doesn't. And there are armchair experts out there in every field, people who think they know how to be a better lawyer than lawyers or a better doctor than doctors, people who think they know how to be a better fighter than fighters. But fighting is different because people will actually go out there and do it. We don't have like street lawyers or street accountants or whatever, but street fights, those happen all the time. And because of that, I think people feel a little more licensed to say, he's a bum. Maybe that's it. And maybe it's because boxing is so elegantly simple. Simple doesn't mean easy. There are complexities to the sport of boxing that you will not be able to discern in the sport of MMA because of the complexity of the amount of techniques involved in MMA. But the complexity of boxing is its elegance and simplicity, which casual fans cannot appreciate, who have not themselves boxed and studied the sweet science. Maybe one of the great differences is the number of MMA fans who practice some form of martial art or jiu-jitsu or wrestling. I mean, in the United States, how many young men have wrestled before, in high school at least, or in college or both? A significant number. Maybe not most, but a significant number, especially compared to other countries. I mean, in China, what percentage of the Chinese population has wrestled? Very few. I mean, how many Sanda fighters are there in the People's Republic of China? I heard the number was around 10,000 actual Sanda fighters who have gone up through the Chinese sport university system. 10,000 of them. In a country with 1.3 billion people. That's a tiny drop in the bucket. How many have gone through Shuaijiao wrestling programs in Chinese sports universities? Very few. We're talking about thousands out of 1.3 billion. But in the United States, we could put an actual percentage on there. I don't know what it is. I'm just off the top of my head. Maybe 5% of the U.S. population has wrestled before. Maybe higher. If you limit that to men, say 50% of the U.S. population, maybe 10% of men have wrestled before. I'm guessing. I don't know. But it's an actual percentage, a whole number. And a lot of wrestlers are UFC fans because they're like, hey, that's something I can relate to. Because what do you do after what do you do with wrestling after high school, after college? Not a lot of careers that leads into outside of coaching. Maybe be an Olympic hopeful if you're lucky and you dedicate your whole life to it. And then MMA came along and suddenly wrestlers had this other thing they could do with it. Like, hey, it doesn't have to end here with college or high school. I can go on and do that. I can learn more about combat sports and striking and submissions and all this, and I can put all of this wrestling to good work. I didn't waste my time. I have a skill set and I can use it. And that's exciting. And even if they don't do that, wrestlers can still appreciate, hey, I recognize these techniques this guy is using. I've done that. I've done something like that before. I recognize the hard work. I appreciate the hard work. I understand the difficulty this guy is going through. I've gone through something similar. So I can feel a form of compassion toward this other human being because we have had similar experiences. And so I'm not going to call this guy a bum. I might not like his personality or the things he's done in his life or the way he carries himself, but I can clearly see he's a good fighter. And when you add up all the martial arts together, how many Americans have either wrestled or done judo or done taekwondo or karate or boxing or Muay Thai or kickboxing or any form of martial art? That percentage is going to go up quite a bit. And a lot of those guys, a significant percentage of those guys who have done martial arts and combat sports before are UFC fans. They're fans of the sport of MMA. And so there's a more compassionate outlook, I think, not always, because you got plenty of bums on the internet. Man, I get messages every day from bums on the internet who, Oh man, who have never, unfortunately, never seen the inside of a boxing ring, never seen the inside of a fight cage, and probably will never have that experience. Don't know what a wrestling mat feels like. Which is glorious, by the way. Especially if it's a Resolite wrestling mat, not sponsored by Resolite. They just really do make the best wrestling mats, and it is one of the few things that you cannot buy in China. There's some decent mat companies, but man, Resolite, they're best emulsion of foam ever for a wrestling mat. It's not a shameless plug, it's an honest review, my friends. Don't get a cent from Resolite. I just love them. Love what they do. Anyway, that aside, those folks, those sad, sad folks who do not know what that feels like, who've never felt their own body in the throes of combative movement, and yet deign to tell a professional fighter, a professional combat sports coach, a man who has dedicated his life to this art and this sport, "You suck, you're a bum." That is meaningless. That means nothing. So when you hear those disparaging guys saying, "Yeah, Lomachenko sucks, Ali sucks, all of these guys suck, they all sucked, what a bunch of bums," that means nothing. That's an angry man who wants to feel relevant, he wants to feel special, he wants to feel something. And if that describes you, if you want to feel something, man, get out there and train. It's amazing. You don't have to fight. Not everybody needs to fight. Not everybody is cut out for that. Not everybody wants that. But everybody should train. That being said, thanks for watching. Get out there and train.